Military vehicles are nonetheless fascinating beasts that draw the attention of more petrolheads than you might imagine, despite the fact that we live in a world where weapons of war are essential. A time of conflict often pushes nations to the brink of innovation, as armies try to outpower and outmaneuver their enemies. Consequently, over the past 100 years, some of the most impressive military vehicles have been produced, stretching the limits of engineering and machinery to unimaginable heights, weights, and capabilities. There are certain machines that have demonstrated such incredible engineering prowess throughout the years of recorded conflicts that they rank as some of the most impressive machines of all time. So here are the largest military machines we have ever built. Number 12. LZ-129 Hindenburg. In the late 1920s, Hugo Echner and the Zeppelin Company were eager to build a fleet of ships specifically built for intercontinental passenger travel after the Graf Zeppelin's astounding success proved the viability of long-range passenger transportation by airship. A ship called LZ-128 had originally been designed to perform this role, measuring 761 feet long, and lifting 5,307,000 cubic feet of hydrogen. In October 1930, the British airship R-101 crashed in a fiery fire, killing passengers and crew rather than the impact itself. This prompted the Zeppelin Company to change its plans and develop a ship that could be lifted by helium instead, and that is LZ-129 Hindenburg. Number 11. USS Enterprise Aircraft Carrier. Launched in 1960, the USS Enterprise, nicknamed Big E, was the world's first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. It had a crew of 4,600 service members when she was launched. The Enterprise was the longest and 12th heaviest supercarrier ever built at 1,123 feet. Enterprise was originally intended to be the first of 6 identical aircraft carriers, but construction costs forced the other 5 to be abandoned. The ship was decommissioned in 2013 after serving 51 years. Number 10. R-7 Semyorka ICBM. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union developed the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile. Known for its impressive missile technology, the Semyorka missiles were implemented in 1959. Despite being on the cutting edge of technology, the missile required over 24 hours to prepare for launch, and it couldn't be left on constantly. It could only stay inactive for a few hours because of its cryogenic fuel system. As a result, the U.S. had no choice but to develop its own intercontinental missile technology as a result of the R-7's status as a major intimidation factor during the Cold War. Number 9. The Ural Command Ship. A command central for the USSR's entire naval fleet, the Ural was developed by the Soviet Union near the end of the Cold War. Approximately 870 feet long, the ship weighed 36,000 tons. It was able to monitor all of the Soviet Union's Pacific Fleet from port thanks to its 2 nuclear reactors. Decommissioned in 2001, the ship remains one of the largest naval accomplishments of all time, having been docked on a floating offshore dock and resupplied by small craft. Number 8. Schwerer Gustav gun. It was a German railway gun of 80 centimeters known as Heavy Gustav or Great Gustav that was the largest gun ever constructed. In the late 1930s, Krupp developed the siege artillery with the sole objective of destroying the strongest forts of the French Maginot Line during World War II, the strongest fortifications in existence at that time. A 500-man crew was required to maintain and operate the gun, which weighed nearly 1,350 tons. It was the heaviest mobile artillery piece ever built, the largest rifled weapon ever used in combat, and it fired the heaviest shells ever fired by an artillery piece. Number 7. Caspian Sea Monster. KM, also known colloquially as the Caspian Sea Monster, was developed by the Central Hydrofoil Design Bureau in the 1960s as an experimental ground effect vehicle. The Soviet Navy operated the KM starting in 1966, and tested it continuously until it crashed into the Caspian Sea in 1980. Caspian Sea Monster was built as an achronoplan, a wing-in ground effect craft designed to fly at high speeds just a few meters above the sea. It allows the plane to effectively ride on top of a dynamic cushion of air created by the wing. Overall, it is a more efficient way of flying and can increase lift by 40%. Number 6. B-36 Peacemaker. They were delivered to SAC in 1948, but they weren't fully operational until 1951. As a result of World War II, Consolidated Vultee designed the B-36 to meet the requirements of the U.S. Army Air Forces for a strategic bomber with intercontinental range. It made its first flight in August 1946, and it was delivered to the Strategic Air Command in June 1948. In addition to serving as photographic reconnaissance aircraft, B-36s were modified to launch and retrieve RF-84F/K reconnaissance planes. The B-36J cruised at 230 miles per hour and was capable of accelerating to 435 miles per hour with its 4 General Electric J-47 engines. More than 380 B-36s had been built for the United States Air Force when production ended in August 1954. A nuclear or conventional bomb was carried on board. The USAF replaced the B-36 with the all-jet B-52 in 1958-1959. Though the B-36 was never used in combat, it was a powerful deterrent to enemy aggression. On April 30, 1959, the B-36 on display made its last flight from Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Arizona, to the museum. Number 5. MiL Mi-26 helicopter. As the second largest and most powerful helicopter in the world, the MiL Mi-26 is designed and manufactured by MiL Moscow Helicopter Plant, Russia. There are 8 main rotor blades and 5 tail rotor blades on the Mi-26, which provides strong load carrying capacity and high cruise speed. There is also a cargo compartment on the helicopter's rear side. It can accommodate 2 combat vehicles of about 1,000 kilograms each. The compartment is 12 meter long, 3.3 meter wide, and 3.2 meter high. Loads are moved into the cabin by electric winches on overhead rails. Closed-circuit television cameras monitor the position of slung loads. Number 4. Char-2C tank. As the world's largest operational tank, the Char-2C, also known as the FCM-2C, was developed during World War I but not deployed until afterward. In terms of physical dimensions, it was the largest tank ever made. The 69-ton, 40-foot vehicle was operated by 12 men in 2 separate compartments. A 75mm long gun was mounted in a 3-man turret with a machine gun at the rear, 3 8mm machine guns were mounted at the front, and a rear turret was also equipped. In 1939, the 51st Bataillon de Chars de Combat, which was formed from all 10 Char-2CS, was activated during the French mobilization. While the super heavy tanks served as propaganda and morale boosters, they were primarily used for climbing and crushing old French forts in movies. Number 3. The Tupolev Tu-160. From 1980 to 1992, the Tupolev Aircraft Research and Engineering Complex Joint Stock Company of Moscow and the Kazan-Gorbunoff Aircraft Production Association in Tatarstan produced the Tu-160 supersonic strategic bomber with variable sweep wing. In December 1981, the bomber made its maiden flight, and it entered Ukrainian long-range aviation service in April 1987. Production has since resumed, with the Russian Air Force receiving the first Tu-160 in May 2000. Only 17 Tu-160s are currently in service in Russia, of whom 36 have been built. A Tu-160 can be referred to as White Swan because of the aircraft's maneuverability and anti-flash white finish. The aircraft is used for delivering nuclear weapons and conventional weapons across continental regions. As a day and night aircraft, it can operate at all geographical latitudes. Number 2. Dmitry Donskoy. Known as Project 941 Akula class, NATO reporting name Typhoon, Dmitry Donskoy was a nuclear ballistic missile submarine in the Russian Navy. As of 2021, the submarine was reported to remain in service for at least a decade until at least 2026. However, its role was also said to be that of a weapons testing platform. In Belomorsk Naval Base in Syeverodvinsk, the Dmitry Donskoy nuclear submarine returned from the White Sea after performing combat training for about a month. In addition to participating in combat training events of Russia's Northern Fleet, the submarine's crew is also taking part in trials of submarines being constructed by Sovmash. Her 175-meter length made her the world's largest submarine, a record she held until the K-329 Belgorod was launched on 23 April 2019. Number 1. Zubr. In Soviet times, the Zubr class, also known as Project 1232.2, was a class of air-cushioned landing craft designed for the Soviet Union. One of the world's largest military hovercrafts, it can carry 555 tons of full load. It was designed for transporting amphibious assault units, such as Marines and tanks, from equipped and non-equipped ships to non-equipped shores, as well as mines. It is equipped with 2 stabilized multiple rocket launchers, 4 Igla-1M portable air defense missiles, and 2 30mm automatic gun mounts for the AK-630. This 6-barrel automatic gun fires at 5,000 rounds per minute. As well as providing defense against sea-skimming anti-ship missiles and small sea targets, The AK-630 artillery system also provides light armored coastal targets and floating mines.